Welcome to the Rum Revival. My name is Arminder, and today it's cane juice time, baby. This is Puro de Surales from Ecuador. Now, I'm usually on top of all of the new and upcoming rum releases, so generally I know what to expect when walking into a bottle shop. Like, I'm rarely, if ever, surprised by what I find on the shelves. But recently, this actually surprised me. So I was at Cana Wines in Hollywood a couple weeks back, and I was walking towards the rum section, and I walked past this bottle, and I immediately stopped and did like a double take, because a couple things stood out to me. One, it was a clear spirit that was 60% ABV. It said product of Ecuador on the label, and it had this illustration of the harvesting of sugarcane. And I was like, yo, wait a minute. Is this an unaged cane juice spirit from Ecuador? From a place that I haven't had rum from at all? And it just happens to be cane juice when wild fermented maybe, and pot distilled? Yo, come on. So this is kind of a big deal, for me at least. And it might not be obvious from the videos I've been putting out on YouTube lately, but my favorite type of rums are usually these unaged cane juice spirits that are wild fermented and pot distilled. Like, I love the Haitian Clarins and a lot of the Aguardiente de Cañas from Mexico. These are usually big, bold, and vibrant spirits that really demand your attention. I didn't even think about or was aware of the fact that stuff like this was being produced in Ecuador. So anytime I come across a new one in the category, it's something I get very excited about. So enough of me talking about my love for this kind of stuff, and let's actually talk about this bottle here. Now, Puro is the name used locally for unaged white rum, presumably made from cane juice. Now, the Surales in the name is a reference to where it's made, in the small hamlet of Surales, which is located in southern Ecuador, and it's about 4,000 feet in elevation. So this stuff is made by Remigio Cordero and his grandson Ismael. Now, Remigio has been distilling since his teens, and he's now 80 years old, so he's been at it a very long time. Also, if that's not the coolest looking dude ever, I don't know who is. Now, the cane varietal used to make the Puro is Cana Blanc. The canes are hand harvested and then crushed, which extracts the juice inside. The juice is then wild fermented, meaning instead of adding yeast to it to ferment it, the cane juice is left out in an open vat where it's exposed to the air. The wild yeast that's in the air then naturally starts eating the sugars in the juice and converting it to alcohol. After fermentation, the resulting wash is double distilled on a hand-built pot still and is bottled at 60.1% ABV. Now, that may or may not be still strength. Either way, it's pretty beefy. Now, with all of those facts out of the way, let's give it a taste. All right, let's give it a little whirl and give it a little sniff. Ooh, yeah, that is a very pronounced nose. Getting a lot of olive and brine. That's like the first thing that really jumps out. And it's like it's not as intense as some other rums I've had, but it's very obvious. I'm also picking up some notes of savory tomato, not like the tomato you get like in Parnubes. That's like pretty intense and in your face or in your nose. This is a little more subtler, but it's there. We should probably let this breathe a little bit, so we'll let some time elapse between cuts. You know, once you give this some time and let it open up, and you get past and used to the olive and the brine and the tomato, then you start picking up some banana. But not like banana and like Jamaican rums. It's not like overripe, rotting bananas. It's a little underripe, and it kind of reminds me of like mashed up banana baby food. Yeah, and that's actually a note I've gotten before in another cane juice rum. I'm looking here to see what it might have. Oh yeah, you know what? It's the Renegade stuff. There were a couple of bottlings from Renegade that I also got a similar nose on. I like briny aromas in my cane juice rums a lot. Like in real life, I don't really like eating olives. I mean, this is all real life, I guess, but you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to eating, I don't really care for olives, but I like the aroma and the taste in my spirits. All right, enough chit chat. Let's actually give this a sip. Ooh, so I'm staring at a little bit. Well, it was too big of a sip to start the day with. Oh boy. So the first sip is like this initial hit of like sweet mango. That's like the primary note, though I am getting a little touch of brine. So I think my palate after that first sip is only just getting accustomed to it, so let's give it another sip. Oh yeah, man. Okay, so this is It's a lot more of an approachable sip. It's not as intense as that first sip. You know, so I'm not actually now getting any of that mango that I got on the initial sip, which is kind of a thing I've noticed often is like the first sips I get in a lot of different rums, not even just cane juice rums, I'll get like this initial hit of like very specific fruit, but every subsequent sips, I don't get it at all. Don't know what that's about. So instead of that mango, I'm getting lots and lots of like briny olives and some minerality. But in between those notes of like olives and minerality, I'm getting this like taste of cane juice and like the sweetness that comes with it. Now, if you've never had like fresh pressed cane juice, one, you absolutely need to taste it. It's delicious. But two, it's a really good reference for when you're tasting rums made from it, like fresh pressed cane juice rums. Because a lot of them, some of them you don't get. You get like grass as the dominant note. But a lot of rums will actually have like a pretty direct line of taste to like just fresh pressed cane juice and that sweetness that comes with it. And with that little bit of minerality, what it's evoking at least is a little bit of like seawater and some mixed herbs, like maybe some dill and like wilted spinach. It's not like a huge dill bomb though, because I think that would be off-putting, at least for me, but it has just like a nice little accent of dill maybe. I think balancing out that cane juice sweetness is a little bit of like crushed black pepper as well. You know, now that I've tasted it a few times, I'm still not picking up any mango on any subsequent sips, but up front though, I do get a little bit of like fruitiness that kind of blends into that cane juice note. It's hard to pin down like what kind of fruit it is, but it just has like a light fruity sweetness up front. That's kind of nice. Now the finish is definitely briny, a little bit of those herbs that I mentioned, but it doesn't last all that long, which is surprising given that it's like 60% ABV. Now either I've lost all feeling in my throat or there really isn't much of a burn with this rum. Kind of goes halfway and then it dissipates. Now I don't know about you, but when I hear cane juice and wild fermented and pot distilled, my mind immediately goes to those guys right there, the Haitian Clarins. I think this one isn't as maybe out there in terms of unique flavors and aromas and intensity as those are. This kind of plays a little bit more in the wheelhouse of like a higher proof rum agricole from Martinique. Between that and somewhere like a Mexican cane juice rum, like Parnube's, somewhere between those two. Now, I'm not sure if maybe the fact that it's not really playing in that space might be due to the double distillation that happened, where I don't know, maybe that kind of brings and tones down some of the character during that second distillation run. I don't know, I'm not a distiller or a scientist, so don't quote me on that. So this is a good rum. My rating, if I had to give it a rating, my very scientific rating is, I like it. And at $40 for 60% ABV, I'm all about that. And I'm hoping that we might see more producers from Ecuador come our way, especially ones doing stuff like this. And in fact, the folks at Limousin and Vellier, I believe, are also releasing a Puro from Ecuador at some point maybe later this year. So, something to keep an eye out for, and we'll see how it compares to this one here. Now, what I love about spirits like this is that there's this kind of intimate expression of the cane, of the people, and of the land that it's coming from. And I know terroir is such like an overused word. A lot of the other rums that I drink and feature almost feel kind of industrial. Spirits like these feel much more agricultural and handcrafted. And I think that's part of the appeal, or at least for me. Now this might seem a bit corny, but cane juice spirits like this really help connect me to places in the world that I've never been to. To suddenly have an affinity for a place just based on a bottle of booze, I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, so thanks Remigio for making this awesome rum, and thank you for watching. Cheers.